ready. Oh, he's ready? Okay. Well, once again, thank you, and I apologize because I'm never late to anything. So this is a first in a very long time. So I guess it's a nice reset. So yes, I'm Andrea Knight. I own a company called Knight Stained Glass here in Norwood, Ohio, and I'm new to the Cincinnati area, but I've been doing stained glass since 1999 when I took a intro to stained glass class at Bowling Green State University. Yeah, I'm still a senior in good standing. I never received my degree because I left the university to pursue this career. And this isn't something that you can really achieve at a university. There are some accreditations you can receive, and if you're willing to go to Swansea, Wales, they will give you an official degree, but I was able to do everything I needed to do here in the States, so that worked out. So that's me, that checks out, we match, we're good, it's me. So yeah. These are the first 2 windows I ever made. I always like to kind of start with that. It's kind of fun. We were supposed to make a sun catcher that had 8 to 12 pieces, and I made these. So I knew right away that I was just going to be off to the races. It was fun to be able to paint with light, you know, to use the light and the different colors of glass, and just I took to it like a fish in water. So this talk will be about the process of stained glass restoration so that you can kind of get filled in on what's going to be going on upstairs. And I'll kind of touch on a little bit of what some of the techniques are and what some of the things are so that you can kind of have an understanding of what we do. We're not just taking out the windows and cleaning them. There's a lot more to it. So if you do have a question, I really don't mind, you know, you can ask it in the moment, because I feel like sometimes that hits a little better, you know. So if there's something you'd like to ask while it's going on, feel free to pop your hand up and we can just, you know, and we can hit that while it's going. So what is a leaded stained glass window? So your windows upstairs are leaded glass windows, and those are made with actual lead came that the glass fits into, and then it's soldered. There is also, this is hard because I can't see my next slide, I'm used to. There's also a technique called copper foil. And copper foil is something that a lot of people might have had the opportunity to do. It's more of a hobbyist technique where each piece of glass is outlined in the copper foil, and then it's soldered together. So that's an application that's been used. Oh, I'm gonna move this so I can. No, that's okay. I'll just. Nope, it's okay. I'm just going to cheat every now and then and look at my next slide to make sure I'm not speaking out of order. So it's a technique that's used real common with, everyone knows Tiffany windows. Louis Comfort Tiffany, the gentleman on the right, designed a lot of his windows in the copper foil technique, which allowed him to stack glass up, use thicker glasses, thinner glass. He also used lead, but a lot of his windows were done in the copper foil technique. And on the left is a more contemporary artist named Judith Schachner. She does really interesting, gorgeous work too. And she does everything in copper foil for the most part too. So it's more a fine art or a hobbyist realm than leaded glass windows are. So leaded glass windows allow you to do much bigger, grander things that require more strength. So this is an example of a dome that I've restored just a few years ago, and you can see what it looked like on the left side and then what it looked like when I was done on the right side. So it got much brighter and brilliant and stronger, and this project was pretty fantastic. This was in not Hancock County Courthouse, Upper Sandusky, Ohio. If anyone's familiar with that area, this is the dome in the courthouse at Upper Sandusky. So it's kind of a fun one. This is another process picture of stained glass windows coming out, something that you'll kind of get to see in your sanctuary. We won't be setting up scaffolding, we'll be using a lift. So at the end of every day when we're done, there will be no evidence that we were there. You're not going to have to look at scaffolding or construction materials or anything like that. We're going to be doing everything using lifts. So here's another window that's out. It's kind of fun to see them in and then out again. So we're all familiar with this picture, right? So your windows are from, they're 20th century. They were done in a style that uses thicker lead lines, bright colors of glass to suggest movement and form rather than figures. A lot of stained glass windows will have figures in them, and yours are reflective of just a more modern style. But what's happened is some of the tie bars that you have attached to the window. Am I allowed to move away from here? Okay. So. Oh, can I talk really loud? No. Okay. You're right. Okay. Oh gosh, this is getting exciting. All right. No, you guys are lucky I'm not a good dancer. This is tempting. So right here you can see there's a little wire that's fallen off of this big bar. So that little wire was supposed to be attached right there. And when it was attached, it was holding the stained glass window to it, so it was giving it strength. And what's happening is a lot of those little wires have come unattached. So the windows are able to kind of move around a little more than they're supposed to. And you can see that the bars are those big round bars. You see them and where they come up. So when the next time you're in the sanctuary, take a look at the windows and you'll see how there are bars all over your windows, and you can see from walking right up to a few of them where they're failing, and you can also see where the lead is cracking. So you see that big crack right there? So that's, of course, the picture's much larger, but that's happening all over in your windows. The lead is cracking because things are moving in a way that they're not supposed to, because the windows are supposed to be able to expand and contract and have better reinforcement. And the application that was used to put yours in kind of worked against that. But back in the 50s and 60s, we didn't really know. They didn't know that these new products that they were using, that they were told were going to be really great, were going to just be a little too firm and not allow enough movement. So, in time, they say that everything becomes better, but often we do lean back on some of the older ways that really were the best to begin with. And in this case, we do have better applications of caulks and sealants that actually do remain very flexible over time. So we'll be removing the old sealants that became very hard and didn't allow the window to move, and we'll be replacing them with more elastic sealants so that the window will always be able to kind of do what it wants to do inside that opening, which should eliminate these cracks happening as soon as they did, right? So this is an example of a window I did in Bowling Green, Ohio, very similar to yours, had the same exact problems happening. So this isn't the first time that I've had to do this, and it probably won't be the last, unfortunately, but it's just the kind of the nature of the beast with the windows that they made back in that realm from the 50s to the 70s. I thought it was really similar. And you can kind of see, you'll kind of have to get used to seeing some of your windows in and some of your windows out, knowing that when they come back in, they'll be good to go for, I would hope, another 150 to 200 years, but we'll see who can hold me to that, right? Yeah, my children's children should not have to work on these. So what happens when we take out the windows is that they come back to the studio. We're going to tape them all up so none of the glass falls out. We're going to label them so that we don't forget which one goes where. And they just kind of get all stacked up. And the next step is that we just do a rubbing. I remember when I was in Girl Scouts, we'd always go out with paper and crayons and do rubbings of well, the tombstones were always fun, you know, in the cemeteries, or fun things that you'd find on the ground, manhole covers, all kinds of stuff. So it's the same exact technique. And by doing the rubbing, that gives us like a map as to how to build the window back, because we're about to take it totally apart. So we'll just have pieces of glass, right? So another step before we take it apart is to map the lead. So if you'll notice the lead up in your sanctuary, you have some lead that's very, very thick. You have some lead that's thin. I think you have at least 4 to 5 different thicknesses of lead. And it's my job to make sure that I match that, so that when when they're built again, they're built to look just like they were originally supposed to look. So all of the lead will be labeled in different colors. And then once everything is labeled, they're taken apart and they're put into big tanks, and they soak for probably a week or so. It's going to just soak in a big tank of water. And that's going to let the water kind of work its way in between the lead and the glass and soften up the putty, so that the act of taking it apart can be much easier and less stressful on the glass. And also, taking it apart underwater keeps all of the lead dust in the water, because lead is very dangerous, and I try not to get any of it inside of me by breathing the dust or just making a mess, you know? So the process of taking them apart is pretty fun. It's kind of a muddy mess, but the lead is peeled back and the glass comes out, and all of the old lead is recycled. And my studio is conveniently right across the street from Cohen Recycling, so I'm able to just take my lead right over there and have it recycled. This is a cool picture of a face, Christ's face. Your windows don't have figures in them, but I always kind of think it's fun when I'm cleaning to get to give all of the little figures a scrub. So after the windows are taken apart and the glass is cleaned, it goes back down on the rubbing, which was a map. I take 2 rubbings, one to lay it out on after I've cleaned it, and the other one I build it on. So this one is getting ready to kind of see where there's broken glass. This gives me the chance to see where the pieces are that are broken, what we might want to fix if we can't do a color match. Here's kind of fun. This is just all of the pieces of glass just loose without the lead in them. So your windows will look kind of just like this, except yours are just the big color blocks. This is just an example of the tool that's used to cut glass. I get to use the fancy one on the left, and back in the day, they used a medieval dividing iron that they would heat up, and then the heat would actually fracture the glass. So my tools have gotten a little more technical, but not much. And then I use grozing pliers to break the glass and chip the glass. The one that I use is on the left, but medieval tools back in the day were very similar. This one on the right-hand side is an example of a medieval tool. So the craft, even though it's 5 to 7 was 1500s, it's about 600-700 years or more old, we're still using tools that are very similar to the original tools. Not a lot has changed other than electricity. I get to plug my iron in instead of having to solder with a pot of hot lead and a fire. So thankfully, that would be fun, but I don't have to. So your windows don't have any broken painted pieces, but this is a part of the technique. Sometimes when there's painted pieces, I have to match glass and do painted pieces. This is a good example, though, of how difficult sometimes it can be to match a color of glass. So the piece labeled piece to match is the original piece out of an old stained glass window, and above it I have 4 different pieces that are close but not too great, and I think I probably would have ended up going with the one labeled 915, but it becomes very difficult because there's only so many companies in the world that make glass, and when you have a piece that's broken and needs to be repaired, you have to find the closest match. And sometimes unfortunately, sometimes there's not an option. Then we have to kind of figure something else out. But more often than not, we're able to get very close. So with your windows, they're hand-blown glass. And the glass probably came from West Virginia. A company called Blanco was making glass back in the 50s and making big, long, hand-rolled cylinders, and they'd open it up and make flat glass. Nowadays, they're not making flat glass anymore, and all of the hand-blown glass comes from Europe. So I'll have to be ordering the replacement glass for your church from either a company in France or Germany. So that's kind of fun. This is just an example of, on the left, the window laid out with all the loose pieces. We're starting to build the panels now, so the re-leading starts to happen, and all of the new lead work starts to occur. And we just use hand tools for that. There's not any machines or anything fancy. I just have a little plier that I cut the lead with to fit around the pieces of glass. And here you can see the top one is just the plain pieces of glass, and then the one on the left is leaded, so it's ready to be soldered. And the one on the right, you can see the joints have been soldered together, so that's what holds everything together. So until the panel is soldered, you could just push it all back apart. It's held in place by just little pin nails. So here's a panel being soldered. We use a big iron, and everywhere where the lead came meets, we just hit it with solder, joins it all together. And then the panel is puttied. This is an important step. Back in the day, when windows didn't have storm windows, this putty actually made the window weatherproof. Now we don't have to rely on that as much, but what putty does is putty also lets the window, during its expansion and contraction, it holds the window tight. It's kind of like a, I have a compression sock, right? I've started to wear those every now and then now because I'm getting older, and they feel really nice to have on because it just holds everything a little tighter. And the putty kind of makes everything a little firmer so that there isn't room for the glass to rattle inside of the lead, right? So here's another picture of the cementing or puttying process. It's kind of messy. It's the messiest step. It smells kind of nice too. It has I don't know if you know what linseed oil smells like, but there's linseed oil in it, and so it has a very, I enjoy the smell because I associate it with the craft, but so it's kind of nice. And then after the window is puttied, tie bars are reattached. So here on the left, you can see how that bar is soldered to the window everywhere where it touches the lead, which before, if you can recall the photo where those little copper ties were falling off of the window, that eliminates this. We're not asking these little copper wires to hold the window to a bar. We're actually attaching the bars to the window, which gives it just incredible strength. So on your windows, because the lines are so bold, we'll actually be able to have vertical and horizontal bars, which will keep the window from bowing or flexing. And really, you can pick the window up by them. You know, it's the strength that it gives them is just really pretty incredible. And that is my last one. I'm sorry. I thought there were more. We could look at a million stained glass pictures, but that's what I've got for, yeah. So with your process, we're going to come out and use a big lift on the outside of the building, and we take off your storm windows, and we start chipping away at all that cement that's holding them in, and we'll also have a lift on the inside to cut them free. So there will be two people, one on the outside, one on the inside, and we'll finagle the panels out, and then I'll pull up and stack them all up on my truck and take them back to Norwood and start doing the restoration. So there's a gentleman named Phil who owns a company called Restoration West here in Cincinnati who will be doing the removal and the installation, and I will be doing the restoration. So he plans on hopefully taking 1 or 2 or 3, maybe 4 at a time if we're lucky. So we'll just kind of work our way around the sanctuary until all of the windows have been taken out and put back in. And before we take out another section, we'll put the section in that we took out before. So you will have times where you'll be able to see the new versus the old. So they get a little glitter back, they get a little glow back, and there won't be any broken pieces, and they'll be strong and good as new. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah? All right. I think it's pretty cool.
When the windows are out, it's the storm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when the windows are out, it's the storm windows that are still there.
Yeah, so the storm windows will be in place to keep the weather out. And if the light coming through is too much, we are able to put like a curtain up to keep that out. I think we're going to kind of play that one by ear and see if you guys like it or if you'd rather have a curtain put up. So it's always your call, you know. We never really know. Yeah. The time frame.
Wait, because we need
Yeah.
to get the
Oh.
question. So,
Yeah.
because it's being recorded.
This is Lois Ann. What is the general time frame on doing one panel?
So the very first window will be the longest window because that's the one that kind of teaches us what's going to be required of all of the rest of the windows. But I'm hoping that if we come in and take, 3 big windows out, that I'd really like to have about a month and a half turnaround to come back because each window has to soak for a few weeks. And then all of them, have to be put back together. It takes, a couple days for each panel. There's 8 panels per window. So that's actually something that I've spent some time writing out and trying to figure. And I do think it'll probably be about at least a month, if not a month and a half before we're back to put them back in. The first round also takes the longest because that's when I'm able to get my hands on the glass so that I can order the new glass. And hopefully all of the colors that we need are in stock. And when I make my call over to Lambert's Glass in Germany, they'll be able to say, not a problem, it's on its way. And, things take a few weeks. But while that's happening, the panels will be soaking and being cleaned. So it's kind of a game of overlapping everything so everything can move smoothly, So it'll be a long process.
You had numbers on the colors on one of the screens. Are those like universal colors?
So there's 2 main companies in the United States, Wismach Glass and Kokomo opalescent glass, and each of them have different catalog numbers that they use for their colors. So Kokomo I almost have memorized. I can look at the piece and tell you if it's 26L or whatnot. But yeah, those numbers are all reference colors to the company's catalogs. Mm-hmm.
This is Judy. How does weather affect your ability to do this project?
Well, really, as far as if it gets too cold, it's just a matter of if it's too cold for us. It's never too cold for the products that we're using. The sealants are rated to, I think, negative 35 or 45 degrees, and I'm really not interested in being outside working in that temperature. So unless we run into rain, of course, because the building will be open. So, there will be a moment in time when the storm window is off and the stained glass is coming out that there will be an opening, So if it's very cold out, that would affect things. But really, as long as it's not raining or snowing or icy, we're able to just kind of keep plowing along, because the products that we're working with are metal and glass, so they're used to the elements. It's more so us and what we can work in, Yeah.
This is Kathy. I have 2 questions, and they may not be ones that you can answer, and I had asked this before you started. but
Yeah.
When did we put in these current windows? Was that part of the restoration of the health center chapel, or was that prior? When the 68, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, that's.
Well,
and
I
this-
would have said between 50 and probably early 70s, just because of the style of the window.
Okay.
So that makes sense
So
that
it was
it's
the
68.
part, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does the window in the loft, which is a whole different provenance, need any work.
The two that are in the back?
Way up in the choir loft.
Yeah. So those two are not going to be restored. They aren't in as bad a shape.
That's what I thought.
But what we are going to do is we're going to take off the storm windows and give the exterior of the stained glass a wipe down and put the storm windows back on. Because when the storm windows are taken off, we're going to take the opportunity to put vents in them. The storm windows currently aren't vented. So we're going to put a little round vent, probably about this big, down in the bottom, and we're going to put one in the top, which will allow a little exchange of heat. So the two in the back are getting attention, they just are not being restored. Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about our possibilities of coming out to your studio?
So my studio is super cute, and I would love to have you come see it. And it is in Norwood, big parking lot, so there shouldn't be a problem pulling up, and everything is just roll yourself on in. It's very accessible. We don't have to worry, and you'll be able to, when you come, if we time it right, you'll be able to see some of the windows just stacked up, which is always kind of interesting to see when they're just leaning on a cart. And I'll have some in the tank soaking, hopefully some of them taken apart, and then hopefully some of them built and being rebuilt, being finished, puttied, so you can kind of see all of the stages while you're there, you know. And I joked, I told Sister I was going to have you guys clean a few pieces while you came. So
We have one volunteer already.
yeah, perfect. I'll take you. Yeah, that'll be fun.
So Andrea kind of talked about that on those little tours, and we'll kind of plan them, because she said that maybe 12 sisters at a time. So then that way you can get, because our studio is large enough to be able to do that for us.
Yeah, no, but I would love for everyone to have the opportunity to come see them, because it's so neat when you sit in mass and you look at them to then after they're finished to be able to know that one of those pieces you held in your hand, or you got to see them being built. It's always pretty cool. Yeah, we got a question?
Yes, Mary Ann. I know that there are many variables here, but do you have an approximate starting and finishing date?
Yes, we're going to start on September 8th. As long as everything comes through with deposits and the lift schedule is able to be procured, we should be here on that Monday, starting to take out the first windows. Yeah. We don't have a finish date. There's too many variables, but I think I might have said we have like up to a year, but I have a feeling it's going to be, I would think that it's going to, I hate to say anything, because if I say a number, then I said the number. So we'll move along. We'll move along. I'd love to have it all finished by Christmas, so that everything is back in and it's just done, and we can have the really cold months set in. But that's way too soon. So we'll probably have to have a few windows out during Christmas, and then hopefully we won't get hit by a hard winter. With January and February can be really tricky. So, but then again, I don't know. All of you say it gets really cold down here in the winter, but I'm from up north, and I have a different idea of what a cold winter is. It really will be interesting. We'll probably move quite quickly through September, October, November, even into December, because it really isn't until like January, February that things really start to kind of take a turn weather-wise, and that's where I could see it kind of slowing us down. But if anything, we'll just be really ready to crank along as soon as it warms back up, so. Oh, yeah, you'll have updates, and you'll also be able to see what's happening. So you'll know what's going on, yeah.
This is Nancy.
Hi.
I wonder if we're going to be affected by tariffs.
That's an interesting question. I have not seen an increase in the glass costs through tariffs. I have not seen, the lead comes from the United States. The solder comes from the United States. Most of the glass I use comes from the United States. We are ordering glass from a European nation, but it's Germany and France, and that's not as bad as if it were a few of the other countries that I think have, had harder tariffs placed on them. So it wasn't really a big consideration when I was having to do my estimate, which is nice for me because everything is, for the most part, made here in the United States. Like the window that is up on this slide, all of this glass is machine rolled. So it's able to, I'm able to get colors that match all of that glass from, there's about 6 different studios in the United States still making flat glass. So that's nice. Yeah.
I had a question about timing. I think you answered it. Sounds to me like it's pretty well through the winter, right?
Yeah, and so I'll be in communication with the board. Can I call you that? The board, the committee, the board, the team, all of you have a voice. So if we get to a point where, let's say it's like mid-December and we're coming to put some in, and you say, you know, it'd be nice to just have everything look the way it does. I don't know if you do a big, you know, Christmas is a pretty big deal. So maybe we might wait. You know, there might be some timing purely just to fit the schedule of what you would like, so that you don't have to go through your Christmas services missing big windows up by the altar, you know? So I'm very, in my career over the last 20-some years, I have had to accommodate a lot of very angry brides, a lot of very angry brides. And then there's always been some, you know, funerals, unfortunately, and holidays, you know, Christmas and Easter being the 2 big ones. So usually in my work, we start a lot of things right after Easter, and then we try to really push to get things in before Christmas. So on this end, starting in September, there is a chance that we'll have some windows out for Christmas. I'm hoping if we do that, they'll be the ones that are in the back or the back corner, because we're going to start at the very front on the right-hand side of the altar. So if you're facing the altar, to the right is where we'll start, and we're going to move right on down, and then we'll come up around the back and head on back. So the one up by the organ, I think, will be last, unless the organ repair, there was an organ like tuning or something happening, so we need to move the organ. So there is a chance that I might get the call saying, hey, the organ can be moved now, can we do these windows next? So that's the only skipping around that I think might occur, you know? So I will try to make it as pleasant as possible for the big events, but, you know. No angry brides here? Okay, yes, thank you. There's 14 windows, and each window has 8 panels, except for the last 2 at the front of the altar side I think are only 6 or 7. So that's 14 times 8. I'm an artist, not a mathematician, but I know it's a lot. 104. Did you do that in your head? Did you just? It's 14 times 8? Yeah. Yeah. So there's 112. Yeah. So that's a couple. Yeah. That's a lot.
I'm just a little curious, in our health center, we have an old window in the stairwell, stained glass, and wonder if the same process may have to be used on that at some point?
Well, Randy and I looked at a couple windows that you have around, and nothing really bopped onto my radar. The one good thing that you've done is you've covered them with storm windows. So the storm windows really help the leaded glass so much. Most leaded glass that was put in the United States was put in the early 1900s up, you know, the really big boom, I would say, was like 1885 to almost 30. It was just really incredible, the amount of stained glass that was being made, that was going into churches and cathedrals in the United States. So much so that a lot of the studios that were in Europe actually relocated to the United States, or they would send their sons to start their studios here. And so with that being said, the windows were going in and they weren't getting storm windows because it just wasn't an application that occurred back in that time. So you have to think, if a window went in let's just say 1905, And then storm windows became popular in the 60s, 70s, 80s, when everyone became very aware of, efficiency, and heating and cooling became more of an issue, with the air conditioning, the invention, so then that's when storm windows started going on. So you have stained glass windows that went 50, 60 years actually being what kept the weather out. So they were just taking a beating, especially in Ohio, where we have pretty dramatic weather occurrences, So putting storm windows on them kind of, I don't want to say it gives it a timeout, but it definitely kind of lets them just exhale and just say, oh, okay, we don't have to keep working so hard anymore, But doing the restoration and having the storm windows is a great team now, so that when the windows that are in your sanctuary are finished, with the storm windows being on and with the new applications of some of the things that we're doing, I'm really not exaggerating or making a joke when I say they should be fine for at least 100 years, if not longer, because we've kind of caught up with what needs to be done to keep them safe over that time, All right, these are good questions. Everyone. So I'll see you all out the studio to clean some glass, huh? All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you. I love to talk about this stuff. It's always fun.
So some of you that I talked to ahead of time, I said, oh, come, she's great at explaining this. Was I right? Yes. So thank you very, very much. And there are some folks here that may be talking to activities and other folks to contact you to plan a trip to come down once things start. And we'll certainly be looking forward to more news as time goes on. Okay. Okay. Okay, that's it, sisters.